Closing time. I'm Carl, and I'm an alcoholic, and my sobriety date is August 22nd, 2014, and you are...
Lindsay. I'm an alcoholic, and my sobriety date is September 6th, 2015. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Every new beginning comes from some other beginnings, and so this is SoberPod.
Soberpod.com. Yeah, SoberPod, keep it authentic, no facades. If it's real, then you know it's ours. Welcome.
SoberPod is a podcast dedicated to the idea that one addict or alcoholic, take your pick, helping one another is crucial to building a life in recovery. Join us this season as we read from our books, 366 Effing Days Sober, and Lindsay's book, Spirit Vigilante. And you can get those books by going to beep, backing up truck. You can get these books by going to soberpod.com or thespiritvigilante.com. And there you go. So Lindsay, did you have a good week so far?
I did. I had a great week so far and weekend. How about you?
I had my final improv showcase show on Saturday. That was
How did
very
it go?
Wonderful. It was there. There's one giant flub that I did. And I was like, ugh, I can't. I will take like everything that was awesome and destroy it by one little flub. You know what I mean? Like that's my.
No, I
thing.
can't relate to that at all. No, story of my life. We are not just rulers of our behavior.
Yeah, I'm very, very. My critical inner voice was going crazy even before the showcase, and then the critical,
of course,
and then it just
this is
continued
the therapy, right? Like you need.
Yeah, so I'll have that on Wednesday, so that'll be good.
Stay tuned.
Probably, yeah, whatever. We'll see what happens.
Well, I'm glad you put yourself out there anyway, regardless.
Yeah, that's the fun part. Is just letting your freak flag fly and going for it. And I need to work. That's really where I've been trying to focus. Of just trying to. There's a video of Ethan Hawke, and he talks about a creative process, and then he talks about playing the fool, and that's exactly where I really. Every once in a while, I'll just watch that video just to go like, oh yeah, like that's exactly who I need to be. I need to be that dude who does not care about what other people think, and also not care what my own brain tends to think, because my brain is always fucking picking at me. It's Carl Jung talks about it as like the shadow self, right? Like, ooh, and that that fucker talks to me all the time. Yeah, and it would have unalived me at some point. If I didn't do something else about it, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. So, what about you? I saw you sit with your feet on some pillow in a room somewhere. What's that about?
A barefoot book reading.
Was that what you were doing?
Yeah. So, one of my favorite restaurants is called DC Vegan, and they opened up a yoga studio right on top of them. So, this is Peace Street, Washington D.C., and we had dinner, and then I did the book reading in the yoga studio, and it was really cool and intimate, and people got to sit on bolsters and blankets, and it was cool. I love being barefoot, and I didn't realize we were going to do it in the yoga studio. I thought we were going to do it in the restaurant, but it ended up really cool. I was in my element,
So you were reading your own book?
Yeah, it was a book reading and sale and signing. So I just picked a few excerpts, and it was interactive, so people could ask questions and comment and say where they relate. And it was kind of what you're talking about. I was nervous before it started, and it was really vulnerable and raw. And sometimes I feel like I'm just, like I posted a quote by Roosevelt over the weekend called Man in the Arena, and it kind of describes what you're talking about with the improv, but at least who are those to judge who aren't in the arena with us, right? So yeah, it was really fulfilling and rewarding, and I just love my family and friends for supporting me in these relatively early stages of becoming an author. So
yeah, I would hate to be sitting in a book reading of my book, and then like, because it's a daily reader, and then have somebody pick like, October 11th, and I would be like, you don't have to shit your pants ever again. Not if you don't want to.
Oh my God. No, that one you pre-select the readings. You don't allow for much interaction.
Oh, please read October 11th. Well, I'd be like, some of you may like the idea of shitting your pants. The warm, mushy feeling of your groin getting filled with the Hersheyest of squirts. Could you imagine?
You would find your people really fast. You'd get a quick filter to.
Yeah, I'd have people like bailing. Immediately bailing.
Oh, that's so good. Well, go us for doing hard things.
Okay, let's read to July 21st. Okay, and this is so talking about like pulling out quotes from people. It's so funny, I pulled this quote out, I think, because I think we actually been talking about it almost like in the last 2 episodes. We've been touching on this a little bit more. So let me just read it, and maybe it'll inspire our discussion a little bit deeper. It is a quote from Winston Churchill, and actually before the podcast began, we looked up like where exactly was he referencing, and he was just referencing a campaign in North Africa in World War II, where they had just kind of like won their first campaign against the axis of evil, but they had just won their first campaign in North Africa, and so he said this. He said, "Now is not the end. It is not even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning." And that's from Winston Churchill. I said, so when you got sober, perhaps you thought it was the end. Maybe you thought, what the fuck am I going to do for the rest of my banal, dull, gray life? In the big book of AA, they talk about not being able to envision life with alcohol or without alcohol. You can apply the thoughts to drugs or any other addictions and obsessions we have. It's the same for just about everyone. We think it's the end as we know it. This is the end of the movie. The fun times are over, and the rest of this thing will suck. We simply can't imagine life without drugs and alcohol. But this is not the end of the movie. This is only the end of the beginning, as my good friend Winston reminds us. So enjoy the shit out of it. And don't forget to take pictures. Trust me, you will want the pictures. Reflections. Are you ready for the rest of the movie now? Daily challenge. Take pictures and post them on SoberPod Live. I mean, you can if you want to. So it's at facebook.com/groups/SoberPod. And then you can go there and be a part of the group. So, Lindsay, what do you think of when you hear this reading from, or this inspired reading from Winston Churchill's quote?
So I really could not envision life without alcohol. And I talk about this in my book a little bit too, but that jumping off point of can't continue life with it, can't continue life without it. What do I do? Like this weird purgatory. And I just thought, what is the point of living? And that sounds so sad now when I look back, but that's really, how will I ever enjoy anything again if I can't drink? That just or smoke weed or whatever will take me outside of my mind and body. Mm-hmm. And so it felt like a death sentence to me. It really did. I when my therapist first brought up maybe trying, meetings for recovery, laughed and I said, that sounds like a great program for alcoholics, of which I am not. So yeah, it's, but you know what? And I've probably said this before, but it was the last house on the street for me. I was out of ideas. We've talked about this, right? Like death. If we were already considering death, let me just try one more thing. It might be worse than death, but let me try it. Right? But how about you? How did you feel like this was the end?
Yeah, 100%. I absolutely thought that I was never going to be the same. Everything was going to suck. Nothing was going to be fun anymore. I just like all the life was going to be removed from life. So it's like, but I didn't know what the alternative was, right? I had no clue. So, all I knew is that I was going to lose my friend alcohol. I even grieved alcohol for a while. I was like, I don't know did you grieve alcohol? Did you like?
I grieved my identity. That was so mired in alcohol and all of the extracurriculars that go along with it. So it was like, who am I without that? Because I was, the party girl, and I was this and I was that. And so who am I anywhere I go without that, without people laughing at me, and without that liquid courage, really. So I grieved that. I grieved partying. I grieved kind of that chapter of my life,
Yeah, and I didn't know how to behave in any way. You know what I mean? Like I just and I think I said it the other day to somebody too. It's like I was really more afraid of my own mind. Like I was afraid of like the decisions I was going to make and how I was going to be. I think I said it on the last couple of podcasts ago. And so then when I was grieving alcohol, it's like I was grieving like two things. Like again, the loss of alcohol and the loss of myself within that, right? Because I didn't know who I was if it didn't have that in it. So and then there's a lot of scariness behind that stuff. It's like, and again, I think it's the end. I don't think it's a beginning. I don't think there's anything to look forward to. Like, you go to AA and it's like they're like, you gotta admit you're powerless and whatever, and then I gotta do these things on the wall, the steps. I'm like, I don't want to do any of that crap. It just doesn't seem to be fixing my fucking problem, which I didn't understand clearly what my own problem was, but right. But I just thought it was like, I thought, I'm going to end up being like that guy over there. You know what I mean? Like, and I'd always look at the worst person in the room. I never looked at a really successful person or whatever. I just always examined, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be like that guy now. And like, I don't want to be that guy.
Yes. I thought I was going to become a sheep. Like, I just thought I was going to lose my identity, lose my personality. Yeah. I just thought life was going to be completely, when people started inviting me to ice cream socials and sober dances and stuff.
Church.
I
got invited to church. I was like, don't you dare invite me to church, you son of a.
I was just like, are you kidding me? Because how do you do any of those things? I couldn't even remember the last time I had gone out for ice cream, like just to go out for ice cream. That's the end of your night.
I had a friend invite me from a meeting once. He's like, "Hey, you want to go get some ice cream?" It was like, I don't know, maybe I was like a year in, and I was like, "Why would I go get ice cream?" I just like, that's just something I do at the end of the night by myself.
Right,
with a half gallon.
Well, in the drive-through, the McDonald's drive-through. Like, why? Get a hot fudge sundae at 2 o'clock in the morning. But I think I was also like with that identity thing, I think I was also grieving the narrative that I had so cemented of I can never get better. I'm an F up. I'm damaged beyond repair. Because then we have this resource in our life that's starting to tell us that we can get better. And that was conflicting with that. So I had to grieve that like constant return to misery that I have been cycling through, thinking that was the norm. I really thought misery was the norm. Every once in a while I have some good points in my life, but I always go back to misery. Like that's just my baseline, you know?
Yeah, there's a little cognitive dissonance when you, and then again, you start to see the light a little bit, and you're like, oh, like, and then I get afraid of it, and I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That seems too out of my range. Like, I don't want to be happy.
What even is that? Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
And let me just say, behind the misery and behind the enjoyment of the misery, or the what I call the malaise, right? Like I loved it. Like I just loved hanging on to that shit because it also fueled me. Because if I'm a piece of shit and everything is bad, like then I have to overcome something on some level. Like if something gets good, then where's my fuel for that? You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? Like then I don't have anything driving me anymore. It's almost like I need a whipping voice in my head that whips me to be better, right? It's like no matter how good I am, I have this voice that's just going to continue to whip me to be a piece of shit. So therefore, I'm always moving forward in this really weird negative fuel, you know? But it doesn't.
Yeah.
Let me just say, that never drives you up. It only drives you down. Yeah. It only keeps you on the thing. So, at this point, you know, I think what we're talking about as it relates to like Winston Churchill's thing is like, I'm like, it's such a weird way to say it, but what we're talking about is hope, right? It's like what we're talking about is that like, you know, this is not the end, it is the beginning, and it's hard to see through what we've come through. You know, we've come through a lot of like dysfunction, a lot of, you know, whether it be going through corrections, legal battles, breakups, you know, divorces, you know, I mean, just court systems. I mean, you know, fines and restitutions, and you know, community service hours. I mean, you name it all, right? Like we have just like gone through a lot of shit potentially, and now for the first time, we see what the solution is. And I don't want to believe that that's the case, because honestly, like as far as I'm concerned, like I need white light miracles, man. You know what I mean? Like I don't need Toothless Joe sipping on some hot coffee out of a styrofoam cup telling me things are going to get better. Yeah, things are going to get better smoking my cigarette. Yeah, kid, you just keep coming back. You know, like I just go, fuck you. Like now I feel like it's even worse. Right? For some reason, I feel like, oh my God, now I gotta sit with these fuckers. Like I always say, like my darkest moment in recovery is when like I go to that first meeting, and I listened to the readings, and that kind of all came back to me because I was there when I was 15 and when I was 20, I would sit in meetings, and then when I was at 42, I left, and for the first time, like in recovery, like again, I'm whatever 60 days sober, and I leave the meeting and I cry all the way home because I left the meeting with no radio on, and it's about a good 15-20 minute ride home, and I have no radio, and I am just sitting there going like, fuck, I am one of these people and I know it, and that just was devastating to me. Like that was like, man, that means I got to be in these rooms and I got to do what they're talking about, and I don't like anything about it. And I think it's the end. That's really what I think right there. Like that's where it's like my own dark moment in recovery right there. I'm crying thinking I'm an alcoholic. I really am. Oh shit. You know?
Did you feel any sense of relief in that of being able to relate to others and having a place to go should you choose to take that route, or was it all despair?
I think initially it was all despair. It was like, but I knew the alternative. The alternative is to go home, drink, and then kill myself later. Like that's all that there's gonna. That's right. I got limited options. Again, I can't imagine my life with alcohol, and I can't imagine my life without alcohol. I am literally at a place of just cognitive dissonance completely.
Then logic tells us to end the life, right?
I mean, I got two choices. I either I can either go on drinking until the bitter end, or I can try something I've never tried before. But again, I don't. To me, it's like at least I had the wherewithal on some level to go like, "Hey, you never tried that, really? You never tried it fully, right?
Yeah,
like it's that really weird twist of the brain that happens."
And I don't know how I even became open enough to try that. But I guess we haven't talked about our experience because it wasn't your first meeting. But after my first meeting, I got into my car and I just cried in the parking lot. Like I couldn't even drive.
This is your very first meeting ever?
Yeah, my very first meeting ever.
See, I've been in it since I was a kid. Like they put me in.
Right.
I mean,
but it sounds like this.
My balls hadn't dropped, and I was in meetings before my balls dropped.
Thank you for that detail. Yeah. There was no other way you could have explained that point of your life to me. So.
No, it had to be scrotum related.
Of course. But it sounds like that was the first time it hit you in that way where you were like, oh, I'm one of these people.
And I feel like it might as well have been my first meeting because it was probably the only time that I was really in meetings where I was there of my own. Like I drove myself there for the first time.
Your own accord.
Yeah. And I never really did that before. I always kind of like did it to, I did it to rest my nerves, or I did it because the police, or I did it because the courts, or my parents, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So you talk about in your book some guiding principles right away in the beginning of your book that I think would really probably help somebody get into this. Can I read some of these just to start?
Yeah, please.
So you talk about these guiding principles and like mark the page and come back to it later or something like that, right? And you say embrace curiosity instead of cynicism. Look at it as an experiment. You are the sample. Turn your worry into wonder. Claim hope instead of doubt. Be present. Life is about paying attention. Be gentle with yourself. Listen to yourself. No one else knows you better than you do. I love that one, by the way. Let yourself have feelings and worries and emotions and never apologize for them. And then keep an open mind, a humble heart, and a receiving soul. And I'm going to just stop there for a second just so we can digest some of those things. But I really love the fact that, you say no one else knows you better than you do, because that to me was that, if I'm going to go back to that moment of leaving a meeting and I have the radio off and I'm just driving, listening to my own mind, it's probably like the first time that I'm like admitting to myself ever after the meeting I just got to, by the way, and then the steps kind of come back into my mind is like, we're powerless over alcohol. Their lives have become miserable. I'm like, oh shit. Like obviously it is, because what am I doing here? Right. And then but I never really listened to myself like that before. You know what I mean? I'd always had this outside noise or circumstance that told me that I wasn't what I was. And I think that is so important also, because it's like so many times in our lives we're being directed or guided, or my codependency is going off, or you know what I mean, or like there's all these outside influences, and I never really stopped to listen to myself like that. And when I did that, then it hit me, and I was like, shit, like if I don't do something, this is game over scenario. Talk about not a beginning, right? Like that's the end actually.
Yeah.
And so then that became the beginning, because I was listening to myself, because I know myself better than anybody else does, and I didn't know that, So
how did you know that you could trust that part of yourself that was saying this is where you meant to be? You kind of needed every blow, right, that you got to get you to the meetings?
Yeah, I like I said, I don't even really know. I just know that it was an accumulation of just everything. on some level, you know? It's like, I don't know how else, like on that short drive home, I don't know where I made the decision that I should go back and that it's okay to do so. Because, by the way, the place was a shithole. I mean, and for me, it's like I judge very heavily. Like the carpet was like just caked on dirt path all the way into the meeting room. All the chairs were just dirty as hell. Like you just wouldn't want to sit. There's just a few that you just absolutely do not sit on because you're like, I'm going to catch something from this chair. I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? And it's like the coffee's terrible. The place smells because they used to smoke in there. You know, I mean, all the things. And I'm just like, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? Like, what am I doing? And so there's nothing that like told me you should go back other than that short, quiet ride home.
Interesting.
Right. That's what an old guy, Willie, he would say all the time in meetings. He's like, I had to ask myself, what was alcohol doing to me and no longer for me? And I was just like, oh, because that's so true. It was like always, like in the end, it never did anything for me. It just felt like it was doing it to me all the time. So what about you?
Yeah.
Where was the moment when after your first meeting, you said you went to that first meeting, and then what happened?
I cried a lot in the car, and I went home, and for some reason I was the only one home. I think my brother was out of town or something. And I had actually been trying to take a break from drinking anyway. So, but I was still smoking a lot of weed, and I went home and I literally like flushed all my weed down the toilet because I was like, I guess this is part of it too.
What made you do that? Did somebody tell you to do it, or you just like...
No, I just did that because I was like, I did that on September 5th, 2015. I mean, I smoked a lot of weed before I threw it all out after the meeting.
Well, I mean, that's normal, yeah.
Of course. And I don't, and that's why I asked, how did you know to trust that voice? Because I can't explain it. I can't explain how 1 week before my therapist's office, I was saying I would never give up alcohol or go to any meetings. Like, that's just grace to me. Throwing out weed, that's just not my behavior looking at the data prior. So I can't explain it, but I started listening to that. And
Lindsay, I hate to say this, there's a bug behind you, and I want to make sure it doesn't bite you. There's a bug.
Oh, that's okay.
Is it a cricket?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I saw it earlier, and it's cool. Oh. It's just we're coexisting. Yeah, thank you for letting me know.
Yeah,
thank you for letting me know.
Pounce on you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. No,
okay.
No, I'm good. I kind of like how you said earlier, I was so effed up, or else I wouldn't have ended up here. And it's why would I be in a meeting of recovery if nothing was wrong? On a random Saturday if you're listening to this podcast, I'm so glad you're here. Also, think about the fact that you're listening to this podcast, because unless they're interested from a psychology perspective, moderate drinkers who don't obsess about their consumption aren't listening to this podcast.
Yeah, this is not coming up in their feed for any reason.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if I'm in these, you don't just wander into a meeting accidentally.
Yeah, let me just say, my wife is not stumbling across recovery podcasts.
Right.
She's just not. It doesn't happen to come up in her feed for anything. So yeah, it's exactly like that. I totally understand that one. So then when you what made you go back? What made you go back to the to meetings? Like what moment did you decide, like, you know what, like this is my, like I'm gonna do this? Like, what was that moment for you?
You mean after that first meeting?
Mm-hmm.
How did I
I'm gonna
decide to
go back. I'm gonna like I'm gonna set out on the path that is being outlined in front of me. What made that happen?
I didn't know what else to do. Like literally with my time, I didn't know what else to do. And so I started going. I was very skeptical. Maybe the first 2 to 3 months, I questioned every single part of the program and put it to the test of Lindsay's brilliant brain, and highlighted and annotated and looked up peer-reviewed articles for the effectiveness of 12-step programs, and tried to find people who did it on their own, and read a bunch of books. And if you're doing that, you can keep doing it as long as you want. And I think I needed to do it. I'm just very analytical, but just let go. You can let go and trust it. And the result will probably be the same, because I fought myself a lot. There was a lot of resistance there. But then from that, I remember when I submit, because I did allow myself to surrender enough to find a sponsor to mentor me through this. And so she unfortunately became the brunt of all my questioning and interrogating of AA.
Poor woman,
and
gosh.
I know. No. And I kept asking
how would she
her,
defend it all? Crazy.
Yeah, exactly, right? But I would just ask, and she'd say this and this, and she'd say, I can just tell you what's worked for me. And by the way, all of these other millions of people. But one time I asked her something, and she goes, then just stop coming. Like, if you don't like it, then stop coming. I don't care. And I was like, oh. So I think I needed to hear that and remind myself that it's my choice. And I think I did have to kind of put it to the test for whatever reason. And I think it's healthy to have doubts about something that you're considering committing your life to, really. And we're still so vulnerable and confused, and yeah. But it's easier if you just surrender and trust it right away.
And I think people who hear it from the outside, when they hear stuff like something I committed my life to, what they hear is, or what I used to interpret that as, is I committing myself to a fellowship or an organization, right?
Yes.
And then
yes.
I now understand that to say, when you say it, I understand it or internalize it to say, I'm committing myself to living my life to these principles or this program or this idea of living, right? This way of life, right? Not I'm committing myself to an organization or the cult, quote unquote, or the fellowship. Like, that's not it, right? It's like, because then it just sounds like, then it just sounds like Dianetics. Don't tell anybody. But
even the word commitment is probably too strong, because now I see it as such a gift. It's like, now I get to, now I allow myself to, now I prioritize this program, my recovery, my sobriety. I will say it over and over again. It's the most important thing in my life. It's the thing I'm most proud of in my life, of anything I've ever done. And it's why I'm here.
Yeah, that's why, I look at it as, what I really kind of glommed onto in the program was the principles, right? Like, I didn't understand anything about, like, the program before. Like, I thought that I did. I just read this shit on the wall. And like, that's what, like, oh yeah, like, and, I knew enough to, like, oh yeah, step one is honesty, that kind of stuff. But, I started to get really into more of the principles. Like, I even talk about, I think I was writing it, like, maybe even 2 or 3 years, I was like writing to myself, like, I didn't know what integrity was. I had no integrity. I didn't know what that was. I had no clue. I had no basis in my life. Nobody around me in my young life, in my professional life, I mean, for 30, 40 years, nobody ever exemplified really what it meant to have integrity, because it was not, those were not the circles I was running in, right? When you run in business, there's too much on the line, there's too much money, people will lie, cheat, steal. They lie and cheat and steal more in the boardrooms than they do in the back alleys, I'll tell you that right now. So, and I watch it plain as day, So none of that stuff, nobody was an example of those real principles in my life until I got sober, and until I'm sitting in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous or whatever 12-step fellowships, and I'm seeing people example what it means to be a stand-up person who has integrity, and what my current sponsor says is like, you don't have to be a good person, you just do what a good person does. And I am like, okay, like, and by the way, that's true for my life right now today, because I'll tell you what, I got a jury notice, Lindsay. I got jury duty, and you know what? My wife was like, you know what? She's like, just don't answer it, don't acknowledge it, don't even open it, just throw it away, right? And I am like, everybody she knows, that's what they do, right? That's exactly like, just don't, because as long as you don't acknowledge it, you just never received it.
It doesn't exist.
And then I just said to myself, I literally said to myself as I opened the damn mail, I said, I don't have to be a good person in this situation. I just have to do what a good person would do, which is go and check the damn jury notice, see if it's me, and then go through the goddamn process. And because the last thing that I'll ever want is to be pulled over and go, there's a warrant out for your arrest for missing jury duty or whatever. You know what I mean? I know it does not going to happen. But the fact is, I don't want any complications in my life. I'm just going to go with it. And again, I don't like it, but I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? And it's not that big of a deal, to do
and
that
I
stuff.
think
So
for me, it's also like, I don't want any complications of my conscience, more so than the external ramifications of that. It's like, I'm going to be worrying about this, and it'll sit somewhere, maybe not every day, but it'll sit somewhere in the back of my mind. And when you say things like integrity, I don't think alcoholics and addicts deal well with abstract concepts like that, right?
Yeah.
We were just instant gratification, things we could see, things we could hear, things we could, just very surface level. That was I wouldn't have even been able to wrap my head around that. I didn't even know what gratitude was.
Yeah, if I couldn't eat it, digest it, or fuck it, it really didn't matter to me.
Oh, okay.
So
fair.
I mean, but no, that's the base level kind of stuff, right? And I think a lot of people do operate that way. So yeah, when I got sober, those are the things that are presented to you that like, oh my gosh, like, because you actually wake up, you get what you talk about, you're paying attention, and your brain comes alive. And if you're not prepared to like walk into those things, if you don't have like what I think is a way of living that works when I want to go do those other three things, right? It's like, if I don't have a way of living and a way to understand it better, or a way to be able to assist me in making the right decisions, then I'm gonna mess it up. Like, there's just no other way around it. I'm gonna mess it up. So that's why, like, I like your part in there where it says, no one knows you better than you do, right? Because I know what I'm about. I know what I'm gonna do. So that's why I need to say to myself, like, what's the reality here? Like, if do I truly understand what it means for these principles that are behind all these steps, right? Like, do I understand what it is that I'm walking into? And if I don't, then I better start to understand. And I better be open and tell somebody, I don't know what you're talking about, or I don't get it, or, you know what, integrity is a kind of a weird concept for me, because nobody's ever illustrated what that really means. I have no example to live by, so please help me, right?
Because we know where our ideas got us. And if we don't stay sane, we will, if then, it's a cause, if we don't stay sane, we will reach insanity again.
Absolutely. So how do you get around that? So we've talked about, like, starting a new beginning, right? Getting rid of the old ideas of who we think we are, and then and starting like a new movie, or at least starting the movie from the beginning.
Maybe a new chapter.
Yeah. Right. So how do you move forward from there? So you get these new ideas. What suggestions would you give to somebody who is like looking to really start over and maybe not even in I don't know, maybe if in 12-step or out of 12-step, what would you tell somebody who is thinking about I don't know, they're like they're 60 days in, and they're reevaluating, and they know who they are, and like but they don't know what to do from there, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that if you're thinking that you want a new way of life, then you can trust that you probably do. And to have different things and be something else, we need to first do, just like Carl said, do what a good person would do. Insert the word good for any word. If you're trying to be more honest or more spiritual, whatever, do the things that those people do. Find a few people, whether they're 10 degrees away from you, whether it's a friend, whether it's a celebrity, do what they do. Start with one small thing. And yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay. Well, that's it. You heard it here first.
What about you? What would you say?
I don't know. I don't know.
maybe like trust that it's not the end of the movie and it can be a new beginning.
Yeah, I think you said it too. It's like, in your list, it was like claim hope instead of doubt. That's kind of part of it. It's like, don't be so cynical. Because you said embrace curiosity instead of cynicism, which is totally what I did. Like, I thought that I had things figured out. I thought I knew how the world worked.
Of course.
I thought, and then, they say a lot in AA, like, get rid of your old ideas, and that is just so true. Like, I don't even know how to explain that to people because it's really hard just to remain really open and honest and willing to go along and try something new. It just is so difficult for a lot of us. It was for me. So
it's also really hard to live in a way that everything that enters your life is faced with scrutiny and skepticism. And now that feels like it will be so much more difficult to revert back to than, to me, it's, and I've probably said it here, the Wayne Dyer quote of, we usually say, oh, I'll believe it when I see it. But he changes it to, I'll see it when I believe it. And that's kind of how I approach life now. I'm open, very, very open to whatever enters my path. I don't, once there is data that necessitates scrutiny or questioning, then I will take that in. But I don't need to live looking over my shoulder and just this distrust, and that it's a very hard way to live. So once you can be open, it's like you can take a breath. That everything's okay. Like no one's coming for you.
Yeah, I need to erase my preconceptions, my old ideas, my old way of thinking, everything that I think that I know, basically. Because the fact is like I feel like in those days I had built my life around such a distortion, and then
exactly,
and it was just so unsteady that. But that's what I was used to. It
was safe.
Safe enough, right?
Right.
And until I wanted to hurt myself, and then it wasn't too safe, right? Because, but again, that is such a hard place to get from, or to get out of. We talk about it in like climbing out of that hole, recovery. I think it's a really unique scenario where it's like, you talk about it, you extend yourself and ask somebody for help and see what they're doing and all the other good things. That is so hard. Gosh, that's so hard. I always say, it's like I heard it once in a meeting. It's like, getting a sponsor or asking somebody for help is like, like a man asking another man to dance. It's like probably the most uncomfortable situation that you'll ever be in.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you just like, all right, like I'm just gonna do this, right? It's just it is an awkward dance, and if you can do that, if you can step into it and try, no matter how many toes you're stepping on, no matter how much weirdness it is, And then the other saying behind that is like, you don't have to dance with everybody, but you do have to dance with someone, right? So pick that one person and do that. I guess that would be my advice. Is like that saved me 100%. Finding the right sponsor, and like I think you even talked about earlier, finding the right sponsor, and then being willing to quiz them a little bit, being willing to take some of their criticisms, without saying fuck you. Because I've had the same thing, by the way. I've been talking to people, and then they'll ask me a question like that or whatever, or they'll be challenging, and then I'll just say, well, just don't fucking come then. And then they'll be like, fuck you, man, you're supposed to help me. And I'll be like, no, I'm not it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not the one that's supposed to help you, right? You're the one that's supposed to help you. So if you're in your way, what am I going to do? Yeah. So, yeah. And then of course, they come back 6 months later, and then, they see me across the room and they just say hi and whatever. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's how it works, man. It's a real weird scenario sometimes. All right, Lindsay. What do we say to the kind, beautiful, heartless, wretched, demoralized people out there?
Restless, irritable, and discontent.
Yeah, what do we say to the restless, irritable, and discontent out there?
Trust your truth, oddly enough.
Yeah, and I say stay active, stay sober, don't drink. See you later.
Soberpod.com. Yeah. It was a sight to see him. Breakfast with Sprite and Seagrams. Wrestling with my vices, exercising my demons. My blessings were blocked, so I never got the message. I'm stressing, I'm only 12 steps from an exit. Regret it, because my imperfections were perfected. I ain't run from it, I accept it and rep it. It's a badge to me, good stories come from a tragedy. And when you survive, the glory will come in Act 3. The wait's over, 366 days sober. Morning affirmations that can start the day for you. Use my favorite bookmark for a placeholder. Finish when the day's over. Okay. Yeah, sober pod, keep it authentic, no facades. If it's real, then you know it's ours. Welcome.